Welcome back to the show, guys. Yes, that did sound just like Freddie because I was intimidating him. What is that thing called? Intimidation? Whatever. Y'all know what I mean. Anyways, welcome back to WWQBD. We're the youngest and least experienced one here at the Brooklyn Cafe Show. Gives out advice to random strangers on the internet where I have no business knowing their business. But you know what? That's okay. At the end of the day, they're going to think, hey, what would Queen Bee do? That was my intro, guys. Still haven't made one. Please don't tell Dawn. She will get mad at me. Anyways, guys, today I have this beautiful guest of mine. I already forgot her name. What's your name? Joanna. Joanna. I've known her for a while. She smells really good. Apparently, she runs a pretty expensive water bill because she loves to take bubble baths, as I've heard. Also smells like fruit, if I could say that myself. Bye, Joanna. All right, we're going to get straight into it today. 27 straight minutes of pure, unethical advice. All right.
Minutes.
Anyways, guys, first one today. Is it normal not to want children? I feel like especially today in our generation, a lot of people do not want children, which is very interesting. Like, I get it. Kids are very expensive. They're annoying. They're smelly. They're gross. They're stupid. Some kids, I just look at them and I'm like, if my kid ever turns out like that, I'm going back to the hospital and dropping him back in the room saying, I do not want this child. But at the same time, the whole point of having a kid is like to leave your legacy, leave something behind. A lot of parents probably didn't want kids, but they ended up having kids or whatever. So is it normal not to want kids? So I'm a female, 23. I'm at the age where my friends are having kids. That's actually very young. Fun fact, millennials are having kids more than when they're 30 into their 32s because they are more financially stable than they are when they're 23. Anyways, seems like everyone's having a baby now, and my boyfriend's friends are all having their kids too, and I can tell how bad he wants one. First of all, if y'all ain't married and if you're not married and he wants kids, that's a little bit alarming to me in the sense where like he wants to have kids before he marries you, because I know a lot of women who have had multiple children with a man and they are not married, so one day he just goes, yeah, I'm gonna go with that hotter other girl over there who's a lot younger than you, who doesn't have kids, so goodbye. Nothing is really tying you guys together other than the children. I think marriage is a good idea if you want to have kids, but that's another discussion. And she says, I just don't wanna have kids. I have absolutely no interest in having kids and I never have. I feel like I'm missing a human instinct almost as people tell me how bad they want it. I just don't have that. I have been pregnant before and miscarried. I feel horrible for saying this, but I wasn't bothered. No sad emotion at all, and a relief if anything. I don't believe I'm a cold person or emotionally immature. I just don't want to be a mother, and I don't know how to explain this to other people. Is there something wrong with me? Well, definitely this girl, her name is Mo Collection, do not have kids. If you have a miscarriage and you feel absolutely no grief, and just no sadness, like if you're just like, okay, like this fetus has passed away, like I'm done, do not have kids. I think you need to tell your boyfriend straight up that you don't want to have kids. I don't know. Slick, Vinny.
My bad.
Why is Slick on here?
My bad. What's going on, Jared?
Well, you made a guest appearance on my show just right now, actually. Thank you.
Anytime.
Thanks, Vinny.
No problem.
So as we were saying, we're talking about a woman, how she doesn't want to have kids at all. She had a miscarriage at one point, and she said she didn't feel sad whatsoever. She also has a boyfriend who really wants kids, but she doesn't. My advice is to have a talk with the boyfriend, because I'm pretty sure he's gonna want to break up with her if they don't have kids, because obviously it's very important to him. And I know there are other women out there who do want to have kids with someone. So my advice is don't become a mother. Do not, because people force you into it, because that kid's going to feel it their entire life. Like, you're going to love the kid, but not the way you should. Correct. And probably break up with the boyfriend or tell him, like, I will not be willing to have kids with anyone. Not just you. I don't want to have kids, so if this is really important to you, I don't think we can continue this relationship. And they're also not married. So he was like, I want to have kids even though they're not married, which is already, like, an alarming thing, because I know a lot of women who do have kids with someone, their boyfriend, and 9 out of 10 times the men, when they're about 40, they're like, I'm going to go with that hot girl over there at the strip club. we're not married, so goodbye. Here are our 2 kids. I'll see them whenever I want because I'm the dad. So I definitely think that they should break up, and she should never have kids.
True. They should.
Ever.
And have that talk. They should have that talk.
I honestly do not like children whatsoever. I think they're annoying and they're stupid.
You were a child at one point.
I know, everyone says that, and I also disliked myself. Oh gosh. So there's this thing called Snapchat, you know, the app, and you can look back at memories and flashbacks.
I loathe that feature. I don't
So
like
you can look back like 5 years ago today, and I'm like, ooh, what were you thinking? First of all, telling y'all right now, when I was a kid, I told my mom, I was like, I'm glad you let me dress the way I did. And she's like, why? And I'm like, because I would look so bad that I can appreciate how good I look right now. Gotta humble yourself. I don't like it how some kids don't go through the ugly phase. If you don't go through the ugly phase, you stink. You never peak. You know those girls who peak in middle school? That's so boring. I used to wear blue, like chlorine bleached wash jeans, like super blue, bluer than this, right? Yes. Black shirt, cats. Justice in all blue, right? Blue headband to match, ponytail. I wore so many ponytails as a kid that actually my hairline moved back. That's how like tight my headbands and my ponytails were. And my mom was like, please stop. And I was like, no, I look so good. And then a funny story, one day I was at like my lunch table in 6th grade and I was like, guys, if you can guess the number I'm thinking of, I'll give you one thing or one answer. In 6th grade, I only wore my hair up. My friends always wanted me to wear my hair down. And this kid who was walking by, I really liked him, and he was like, 25. And I was like, yeah, that's the number I was thinking of. And I thought he was gonna be like, I want you to take your hair down, girl. And I was gonna be like, I was waiting for this like moment where I'd like whoosh my hair back, you know what I mean? And I was like, what do you want from me? And he's like, I want your Minnie Mouse Christmas hat. And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you wore it last week. It's pretty cool. I want the Minnie Mouse Christmas hat. And I was like, I lost it. I don't know where it is. That was pretty embarrassing though. But his name was Huff.
Huff?
Well, his name was Troy, but they called him Huff. I don't know where the name came from, but that's okay. His name was
Troy Huff?
Troy
Huff?
Benedict.
Troy
You're seeing
Benedict,
this?
but Huff?
Hey. Huh?
Huff?
Huff. Huff. I don't know why they called him Huff. He was also the headmaster's son, which is like the principal of the principals.
Did he huff a lot? Like, did he?
No,
like,
he was odd though. He was an odd man.
But, I mean, that was the guy.
His name was whatever. He was blonde, blue eyes. It really captivated my soul. I never liked anyone after that. It was kind of terrifying. Oh my goodness. What did I just do? Anyways, guys, next story. This one's a little bit sad and a little bit concerning.
Yeah.
My mother just passed away Saturday, and my employer is only giving me 2 days off. So, I'm 21, and my mother just passed away from a stroke Saturday. Nobody saw it coming. She was 44. I'm still very torn up about it, and I've got a lot of legal stuff to do with me being next of kin, and my employer said if I don't come in tomorrow, they don't need me. I don't know what to do. I do not feel like I'm ready to go back to work. I've already got a lot of stuff to do still. I've got to pick up the ashes Thursday or Friday. Ooh. And I don't know, and I know that's going to be a very emotional time for me. That's so sad. Like you pick up ashes and you put them in the side of your car and you're just like, hey mom, that's so sad. And they won't give me that day off either. I make good money at this job and I really don't want to lose it. But if that's how they respond to a major death in an employee's family, I don't know if this is the kind of company I want to work for. Finding a new job in my field is not an issue, which is good. I just don't know if I'm being dramatic or blowing this out of proportion. Any advice? I'm sorry, but any job that only gives you 2 days off when your mother has passed away and you're taking care of legal stuff, like picking up her ashes and picking up the papers, there is something wrong with them. That guy, obviously, he either A, like is struggling to like keep his employers there because like of COVID and people don't want to work, or B, that job stinks in every other position and no one wants to work there. I wonder if like there was someone above her boss that she could talk to. I don't even know if that's legal to be able to just be like, yeah, you only get 2 days off when someone passes away. I feel like at least a week or two just so they can like at least process something. But she says that there's an update. So thank you for all advice. I went in this morning and didn't say a word. I just packed up what I could, packed up what I couldn't lock in my toolbox, cleaned up my area so none of my coworkers would have to, and told the manager I'd be back to get my toolbox this afternoon, and I'll drop off my uniforms when I can. So she quit. He said, all right then. I don't know if I quit or if I was fired, but that doesn't matter. The money part of the thing isn't a concern right now. I can't see myself working for a company that would treat its employees like this. I think it's really good that she quit. At least she knows that she can find other jobs in other fields, because a lot of people don't understand that when they quit a job, you have to have some sort of backup. You can't just be like, I'm quitting my job at Starbucks, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't have any more money, especially if you don't save any money. So I'm glad that she knows that she can get another job. So I'm glad for her. I'm sorry to hear about her mom, Salty Bones 99. So if you're hearing this, I'm glad that you did quit your job. You look really concerned over there. It's like, I don't know.
Salty Bones.
Yeah, Salty Bones 99. These names are so peculiar. So good job, Salty Bones. I'm glad. So this other person, Old Bees. Don't laugh. This is a really serious name, Old Bees. Have any of you guys ever had a therapist? Anyone in here?
Yep.
Anyone ever, like, you know what therapy is, correct? You know, you go in, talk about your feelings. They kind of help you guide you towards the answer so you can figure it out yourself, because if they just gave it to you, that would suck. So I don't know if my therapist is normal and is supposed to say stuff like this. So basically, my 14-year-old, so she is 14. My mom took away my doorknob because I locked it. That's a little odd, like her mom just took away her doorknob because she locked it. I understand though it is her mom's house. I don't lock I'm still 19, I don't lock my door in my house. I do shut the door, and I do ask for people to knock, but I also don't lock it unless like I'm changing. Because I feel like moms are always like, hey, what's up? And they just open the door, especially when you're changing, and you're like, Mom, why are you opening the door? But then they always hit you with the, well, I raised you, so I've already seen you naked. That's like, besides the point. I also had a therapist session on the day she took it away. It was also the first session. So I was talking to the therapist, and I was still kind of soft on the doorknob thing, so I started to cry. And when I told her why, she said she didn't have a door when she was 14 and that I don't need to lock it. This girl seemed sus already. She was also really annoyed that I didn't speak to her much and told me that she couldn't help me if I don't talk. First of all, I know many people who do not talk at therapy. They'll just sit there for like 2 or 3 sessions just trying to like build something first, and then they'll slowly but surely figure it out. She said it in a really annoyed tone. I didn't really feel comfortable talking because it was my first session, which makes sense. It's kind of like if you meet someone for the first time, you're not going to freaking come out and tell them everything. I thought she would explain it better to me or something, but she said it makes me feel like I was wrong for being upset. I've only been to therapy one other time, which was 2 or 3 years ago, so I don't know if I'm overreacting. Get a new therapist. Old Bees, please get a new therapist. This girl, she seems more like a really irritated mom, kind of. Like, you're trying to express your feelings to your mom. She's like, well, I didn't have a door when I was 14. If you're like, Mom, I broke my shoe, she might be like, I didn't wear shoes when I was your age. It's like one of those things. I think it's very alarming when the therapist brings their personal life into your session, because it's supposed to be all about you, and therapy is a lot about patience. So you should really yawn break. Sorry, I yawn. I'm waiting for the day where I hiccup in the middle of everything. So I think she should really get a new therapist. It's really alarming when the therapist is already acting incredibly annoyed. It's like, first of all, you're being paid to be here. Like, I hate saying that, but it's like, you're being paid to be here. Like, why are you acting like this? Secondly, poor girl, she's only 14, so she's freaking out. Like, poor little girl, and her mom took away her doorknob. That sucks. I feel like there's more to that story, and like the mom could have something, or the daughter, or whatever. But still, get a therapist. Please don't say in this one. And I feel like therapy definitely is a good thing. Like, I do recommend it to lots of people, but just don't. Just not to this girl. So another one. This one is this is a little bit more on the lighter side, guys, but I still think it's a little bit interesting. My teacher said I had more chocolate than Willy Wonka because of all the girlfriends I have are black. Now my school is a war zone. Definitely, this one's from Chad Extra. So, I am white, but my preference for black girls has become well known in the school. I know a couple guys like this, I know a couple girls like this. About a week ago, my teacher remarked with this as a bit of a cringy joke and described in the title. You know, like, you got more chocolate than Willy Wonka, Chad. I wasn't offended because it's true. I would die for my black girls. However, it's caused an outrage in the wider community. The teacher has been suspended pending an inquiry, and other teachers and students are being attacked. Cars being vandalized as they go to school. My girlfriend has thought about wearing Black Lives Matter armbands to show we understand that racism isn't a joke and might calm things down. Thoughts? I think it was more of like a joke. I don't think the teacher meant to be like racist. I've heard I hear other people say similar, not even similar things like this, but I feel bad that people are getting their cars vandalized. I don't understand who's getting their car vandalized, but I feel awful because, like, first of all, like, you're attacking people's personal cars and stuff, but I think they need to have like an assembly within the school and be like, hey, like, we understand that this happened and that it was said to be a joke, but obviously a lot of people don't agree that it was a joke, so I think everyone needs to be very careful with their words and understand, like, you can't just play around with, like, race and just use it as a joke. I mean, obviously Chad said that he wasn't offended and he didn't take any offense to it, but there are other people in the classroom who obviously were like, whoa, what does that mean? Like, do you think all black girls look like Willy Wonka bars? Like, what the heck? So I think that this teacher was being harmless and at the same time had a little bit of ill intent behind the words. Definitely be careful with your words today, guys, especially when you're commenting about like students or like you're not even on the same level, so just be aware. I'm glad for Chad. I'm glad he's like expanding his taste in women. Good for Chad. But I do not think that I think he should also come out and be like, hey, like, I don't condone this kind of actions and this kind of talking. Like, I'm really sorry, guys. Sorry about this. So, sorry about that, Chad. It says that, it actually says that it was fake. That's really upsetting. So now I'm sad. Well, it wasn't real. So you know what, guys? That's okay. Silly Chad. So we got one more story by JSL 50X Returns. These names are weird. My 11-year-old is in serious trouble and I need advice. My cousin's 11-year-old son is in serious trouble and I need advice. I'm really curious as to why this child is in serious trouble. I'll call him James. So James has always been pretty funny and sweet. He's been so fun to have conversations with and seems quite mature / smart for his age. Has always been selfless and recently started getting into U.S. history and even politics ever since the elections. About half a year ago, he was getting a computer for his birthday. He's 11. I don't know why he needs a computer, but whatever. He was extremely excited because he could read news articles all day. Eventually, he found / started researching into sexualities because of it and being a large political topic. Soon after, he announced to his parents that he thinks he's gay because he's never met a girl that he likes and he'd never met a girl that he likes in the way he likes boys. His parents took this opportunity to give him the talk. They said they have no problem with him liking who he likes, but mentioned that he's too young for intercourse in general and are glad that they could have this talk, but suggested that he focuses on being a kid for now. That makes sense, a lot of sense. I agree with the parents on this one. Apparently, them mentioning he shouldn't have intercourse at his age hurt him. According to his research, he began to look up "Parents Don't Support My Sexuality" and "How to Get Back at Parents," and some other things that I best not post here. Eventually, he found a bunch of online threads about self-harm. He ended up cutting himself multiple times on the back of his wrist with a pocket knife, and when nobody noticed it, he cut his arms and hand completely open. His parents freaked out and took him to the hospital. He apparently cannot feel or move his fingers anymore, but they told him that physical therapy may fix it over time. Wow. When they all talked about what happened and why he did it, he said it's because they were terrible parents and didn't accept his sexuality. They reminded him that they did accept it. They just told him they don't want their 11-year-old son having intercourse yet. He continued to call them bad parents and even told his mom she hopes she dies. They have ever since taken away his phone and his games, locked up all dangerous objects in the house, and have added parental control / monitoring softwares on the computer. Now he just locks himself in his room and repeatedly opens up his scars and tries to find a way to hurt himself. They have started sending him to a therapist, but he keeps his mouth closed the entire session and says nothing. He started calling his parents beach, booty hole, and other words that I cannot say on the show. And he consistently uses phrases like, "I'm oppressed," and nobody loves me and understands me, and you all have it so easy. Remind you, this kid is 11. He is 11.
He's oppressed, though.
He has been such a sweet, wonderful, rational, loving person. I don't understand how this has all happened. My cousin is crying constantly, and I don't know how to feel about her son. I feel bad for everyone involved. Is there any advice you can give me, or at least tell me, with his parents? First of all, in my house, my mom would beat the living crap out of him. Seriously, this child is 11. I think the problem started when they gave him a computer. I think that when you give kids computers too young or like tablets too young, they become very reliant on it. And especially because they can go online and read one thing and they're like, oh, this is true. Online is always true. May not realize that there's another side to it or that maybe that article isn't even true. So I think that it was a bad idea that they gave him the computer in the first place. But he told them he thought he was gay. And they were like, okay, we understand that. We accept it. We do not want you doing intercourse yet because A, way too young. This kid hasn't even hit puberty yet. The fact that he's even talking and thinking about stuff like this is already incredibly concerning because he's what, in 5th grade? That's kind of terrifying. I don't know about you guys. Yawn break. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think most 5th grade boys are thinking about that. They're playing with cars, they're playing outside, playing video games, not doing this. So the fact that he's looking up all these things about how to hurt his parents and how to hurt himself is the worst part. Also, the fact that there are those answers online is already incredibly alarming, which is already very sad. So I think that he needs to be waking up. His parents need to slap him and be like, you do not understand. Like, this is our house and our rules, and we want you to get better, but you cannot be calling us all these awful things. I know how hard it is as a parent to hear this because for a minute you're like, is this my fault? Like, is this all me and my doing? But at the same time, like, there's something wrong with this kid. The fact that he is calling all his parents awful, he's saying that he is oppressed. That is not being oppressed. Being oppressed is like not being able to speak your truth. It's not being able to stand up and like love who you love, or it's not this. His parents have told him multiple times, we don't care who you like. You could like a freaking tree for all we care. We just don't want you being involved in all these activities right now, which is very logical. It makes sense. I mean, he can get a disease. He's also 11. He doesn't even know his big toe from his little toe. They probably all look the same. His freaking shoe size hasn't probably changed yet. So I seriously think that they should keep sending him to therapy, and they should also not even sit him down. Just tell him straight up, be like, you and me, we need to have a talk. You cannot be harming yourself like this anymore. It's not just not going to get attention from us. It's bad for you. Because when you grow up, when you're 20, you're going to look on your wrist and you see all these awful things, and you're going to completely regret it. And if you do meet someone you like, you're going to see this, and then you're going to have to explain it to them, and they're going to think you're an idiot. Because what rational person is going to be like, oh, so your mom accepted you, but you still cut yourself because you looked it up online and thought it was a good idea? This just goes to show that 11-year-olds are incredibly, like, impressionable. So I think that the internet really needs to fix itself. And I think this goes to show that children should not be given freaking computers and tablets so young, or if they do, they should be monitored. Speaking of parents, I just found out that my father is having an affair and I have my exams after 2 months. Ah, that's interesting. So innocent fire dragon, sorry to hear about this. Her dad's having an affair, or their father is having an affair. Until the day before yesterday, it was all good. The only pressure on my head was of my exams, and I was studying every day, completing my targets every day. Good job. Yesterday, I borrowed my father's phone for academic purposes while I was studying. A woman started messaging things like, I miss you. Want to see you. I opened up my father's WhatsApp and read all their conversations. I discovered that my father is having an extreme affair. Since then, I am unable to focus on my studies. I am feeling disappointed and scandalized. Whenever I think about it, I feel disgusted that my father is indulging in something like this. I love my mom the most, and she's the most important person in my life. Each time I start studying, I imagine my mom discovering this and crying. I don't know what to do if I have my exams in 2 months, and I think I have lost all respect for my father. P.S. I am 17 and a male. That is awful. I feel really bad for him. It's really difficult, especially when you find out that your parents are having an affair. Like, especially when the dad doesn't know that you know, because you look at him with a disgusted look, or you're trying to act normal, and it's freaking awful and terrifying. I have not experienced this, if anyone cares, but I have not experienced this. But I definitely know a couple of people who have. For example, I know someone whose parents were together, and then the dad cheated on the mom with the maid, and like ran off and like, you know, started their own little family. And it's this awful thing because you sit there and you're like, wow, like, are we not enough? You start questioning everything. And I'm wondering though, is he ever going to tell his mom? So my question is to you guys, the 3 people in the studio, if you found out that your father was having an affair with your mother, would you A, tell your dad he needs to tell your mom? B, just tell your mom straight up, no warning to your dad? Or C, tell your dad that you know and see what he does? No one responds. Great, guys.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah. I'll tell my father, then I'll tell my mother.
So she knows that he's gonna come tell him that he's having an affair.
That's awful.
I'll be Tekashi. I'll tell everybody.
That's awful. I feel really bad.
You just grab one.
There's a mic over there, Dan. Good job.
Ooh, good job, man. Good job.
You got this, Dan. Dan's just grabbing the mic. There we go.
I ain't telling nothing. Deadass. Yeah, I can't.
So you're not telling the dad or not telling the mom, or just keeping it to yourself?
I don't want to be in between that. So I think.
Weren't you in between it the second that you find out?
Yeah, but you can still be Switzerland.
Yeah, but Switzerland's also like kind of a baby because they didn't do anything. If you were in that situation, would you want to know from your child, or would you want to know from your significant other?
Significant other.
Dang.
Not my child. Then that means you sloppy as hell. That means my significant other sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my significant other.
There must be sloppy that my child knows and I don't.
I'd be more pissed if my kid came and told me, because I'd be like, so my kid had to find out before I did, and they had to go through all of that just so you could have an affair, you slimy little slime ball.
Facts.
Freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Actually, interesting story that I heard yesterday, a little one right before we get off the air. So this is about really jealous, possessive people, and it's about, when did you know that your relationship was over? So this girl, her and her ex-boyfriend worked as actors. You know, they were like extras on set, whatever. And, you know, they're working on a set, she's in the movie, and the main guy in the movie had a crush on her. But she didn't know because her boyfriend was at her side every single moment. He would give her googly eyes, but like she never really cared because she had her boyfriend. Her boyfriend goes off to the bathroom, and the star of the movie comes up and he's like, girl, I can give you everything, like everything you need. And so the boyfriend comes back, punches him straight in the face, and they get into this huge brawl, right? So they're having this fight, you know, the girlfriend and the guy take off, and he's like, so she's like, babe, like he walked up to me first. I didn't say anything back. Like, you know I did it. You literally saw me standing there, like, and he's like, oh, you're stupid. You're terrible. Like, I want you to die. So they're on the freeway, right? He takes off her seatbelt, opens up the door, and shoves her out. So they're going 20 on the freeway now because he slowed down, but it's still pretty fast. So she rolls off. Her whole face is absolutely scraped up, right? Absolutely scraped. And she's like, what in the world? So she looks up and realizes he has started to go backwards. So he wants to kill her, actually. So she manages to run to the other side of the highway and like starts jumping over all these fences in the people's houses because they're in a neighborhood. So she's jumping over all the fences and stuff, and she finally sees one person where they're home. So she's banging on the door, and like, you know, they're obviously freaked out, and she's explaining them the situation. They call the cops, and the boyfriend has no idea like where she is. So they call the cops catch him, and she moves away, changes her name, and changes everything. Doesn't hear from him for 2 months, and he finds her again.
Oh my God.
And then for the part 2, you gotta come back next time, guys. On the What Would Queen Bee Do? Remember, guys, I'm the least experienced person here, youngest one here, still dishing out advice to strangers that I really have no business knowing their business, but that's okay, guys, because what am I? I'm Queen Bee. If you're ever in a rut, you're ever in a situation when your boyfriend pushes you out of the car and tries to run you over, you know what you think? What would Queen Bee do? See you guys next week or maybe tomorrow, or maybe yesterday. I don't know, whenever this airs. Anyways, guys, have a great day. And remember, what would Queen Bee do?